Had you known that you would end up here in the United States, would you have still proposed?
That silence is deafening. It tells you everything you need to know. Sarper made this big romantic gesture, right? He did it because he wanted to stay in Turkey. But now they're here in the States anyway. So would he have proposed if he knew how things would pan out? Well, as it turns out, their move to America isn't the only issue that these two face.
It was the bottle collection, it was exes reaching out, it was his book. Now it's this person. I'm tired of it.
Yeah, the producers have produced the goods. They've done it again. They've managed to drag up another woman from Sarper's past just to stir the pot. And believe me, they've definitely succeeded. But before we get to Shekinah's reaction, let's rewind to the start. So the last time we saw Sarper and Shekinah was at their engagement ceremony, where Sarper was telling all his family that he absolutely didn't want to leave Turkey.
I never thought that I will come to US, to be honest. I mean, 2 years ago, if somebody said me that you will be in US, I would laugh him with my ass. That would be the last thing that I would do.
But clearly Sarper isn't laughing with his arse now. He has actually moved countries. He's here in the States, all in the name of love. And all of the cast are excited to see them. Well, actually, scratch that. They're excited and equally disgusted.
Are you guys splitting a butter stick?
Yeah.
What the f***? Who eats butter like that? Well, silly question, really. Clearly, Sarper and Shekinah do. Both of them do. It's part of the new diet we're both on, Shekinah tells us. The carnivore diet. We only eat high-fat foods. But, boy, at the risk of sounding very bitchy and snarky here, if her aim was transformation, if that's why she's dieting, her face seems to be stuck on a completely different journey. Honestly, didn't she look so much better before? Now, when they all head out to stage, the first question that Sean asks them, naturally, is how Sarper ended up in the States, to which he informs us he was granted his K1 visa, the countdown to their marriage has begun, and that he reluctantly agreed to move because Shekinah wasn't able to adjust to life in Turkey.
And I felt that she will be unhappy.
Is that right, Shekinah?
Yeah.
You just could not adapt to Turkey.
I gave it my best shot, but it was just too difficult.
The language barrier, learning Turkish, was very difficult for Shekinah, but that wasn't the main issue, she tells us. I couldn't stand to be so far away from my daughter, she says. I'd come back frequently to visit her when she was off from boarding school, but it wasn't enough. I didn't like it. So we reached a compromise. Sarper already knows English, so coming to the States was much easier for him, she tells us. But that raises a question. Sarper has been in the States for about a week, and Sean wants to know how he's adjusting. Is this what you thought it would be? She asks.
Had you known that you would end up here in the United States, would you have still proposed?
That's a good question, actually.
Yeah, that silence, the silence that lasted for a full 10 seconds, I counted it, really tells you everything you need to know. There's no need for him to answer with words at that point. And a clearly irritated Shekinah says as much.
Don't even answer, I actually don't need your answer.
Sarper's clearly unsure of what he's got himself into. He's obviously not comfortable in the States yet. Now, it is only his first week here. It's no doubt a culture shock. Adaptation will take time. But Sarper tells us he had no option. If he wanted this relationship to work, living apart, going back to a long distance relationship like they tried, just wasn't an option. Shekinah's too jealous. She's too possessive. She's too territorial. territorial, he tells us. She constantly needs me in her orbit.
When I'm in her territory, I'm the best. You are the best boyfriend ever. You are the smartest man on the planet. When I'm out, you disgusting, gross creature. I jump back, I melt you when I see you.
The second I'm apart from her, he tells us, there's problems, so it's just much easier, there's far fewer headaches if I stay close. And by close, he means literally stay in the house and not leave. Yeah, apparently Shekinah is that level of jealous. Now, given Sarper's history, right, given how vast his history is, no one can really blame her for being jealous or cautious at the very least. And the truth is, Sarper doesn't help himself. He almost enjoys adding to her insecurity. Like, take for example the joke that he made when he first landed in the States.
Parents, lock up your daughters.
No,
That's
I
what
didn't.
he said when he got off the plane.
No, I said
said-
girls lock the windows.
Same
door.
Oh, come on, Sarper. You should know better than that. If, by your own admission, you've got a jealous and possessive fiancé, that is not the kind of joke to be making. Unless, of course, you're doing it deliberately to agitate her. Now, funnily enough, James, of all people, defends Sarper. He says that's my kind of humour too. That's the kind of joke I'd make. But humour or not, funny or not, it turns out Sarper has been paying for that joke. You see, since arriving, Shekinah hasn't let him out of her sights. He hasn't been able to go anywhere by himself, and it's led to him questioning whether or not she'll ever ease up.
May I go outside, honey? I won't ask that.
Permission.
Really?
You're not a prisoner.
Kind of.
So he can go out.
Do you feel like you're a
You feel
prisoner?
like you're a prisoner.
I feel so much like a prisoner that it's a miracle I'm not wearing an orange jumpsuit today, he jokes. But while he says it with a smile on his face, I think there's definitely more to that than just a joke. That clearly is how he feels. He's feeling claustrophobic, and that doesn't exactly bode well for his new life in the States, does it? How long will he be prepared to put up feeling like that? Now, Corona suggests a solution. Maybe you can share your location with Shekinah so she knows where you are, she says. But that suggestion immediately gets shot down. No, says Sarper, that is one of our last remaining 2 boundaries. Boundary number 1, we'll never share locations, and boundary number 2, I'll never allow her to go through my messages and DMs, he says. Yeah, sounds kind of sus, doesn't it? Why the secrecy? What's he hiding?
For example, I'm talking with my high school friends and they are sending me some porn photos or something. I mean, I don't want her to see that.
Well, I can see why she would want to go through the DMs now.
Look, boys will be boys in every country, in every group chat around the world, right? That's a fact. It's naive to think otherwise. But of course, there's different levels to that. It also depends on what exactly is being shared, what they're talking about. And much to everyone's shock and horror, Sarper goes on to say, me and my friends, we'd all talk about what we'd do to the woman in the picture.
For example, sending a photo of nipple and what would you do to her? One drops graphs, one open surveys, lick it, suck it, bite it, all of it, none of it, half of it.
I like sex. It's nice.
Sarper plays it off like it's no big deal. It's not gross, it's not weird to fantasize about other women, to graphically explain what we'd do to her. No big deal. But of course, Shekinah is horrified. Again, just like before, just like the joke when he landed in America, Sarper's sense of humour doesn't really mesh well with Shekinah. You can totally understand why it is she has trust issues.
But I mean, I can understand her. I mean, she has a right to have a mistrust in me because I am a guy with one of the worst resumes on the planet, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
That was actually remarkably self-aware and honest of Sarper. Like, he's a guy that often says the right things, but saying the right thing and doing the right thing are 2 very different things. So, has he really changed? Well, there's no one better to answer that than one of Sarper's ex-lovers. An American lady, a lady called Dee Dee, that he still happens to be in contact with. Just the very mention of this sends Corona giddy with excitement apartment and Shekinah looking furious and uncomfortable. So who is this lady and why are she and Sarper still secretly in touch?
I think we're friends. I
You're
consider
friends?
us friends, yeah.
Sarper doesn't have any friends that are females, so you're not friends, honey.
Oh boy, that honey was dripping with venom. Now, Dee Dee explains that she and Sarper had a one-night stand, but funnily enough, that isn't the part that triggers Shekinah. You see, Sarper reveals that that night, their night of passion, also involved a lot of talking. They got on like a house on fire. And ever since, they've stayed in touch. And that is the part that Shekinah focuses on.
You stayed in touch until
When's the
when?
last time you
Until when?
messaged him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Let her answer.
November?
Of this year? Or last year, I mean?
Now, while Shekinah is furious, and this doesn't look good for Sarper at all, the one redeeming feature, if you can even call it that, is he's been entirely honest with Dee Dee about Shekinah. He made it very clear to her that he's now in a relationship, he's committed to Shekinah. And interestingly, Dee Dee, who apparently is a therapist, takes it one step further. She says she's convinced that Sarper wouldn't cheat, but this is all too much for Shekinah. She wipes a little tear from her eye and then she gets up and storms off. And it's probably a good thing that she does, because it's at that point that Dee Dee pulls out her phone and shows just how much she and Sarper communicate.
You can see if you want how much we text.
Scroll, scroll, scroll.
Oh, whoa.
Wait a second. These receipts needed to come out long ago.
That is a lot of messaging. Not just messaging, videos and photos too, it seems. But both of them, both Dee Dee and Sarper, maintain that nothing untoward has happened. He's been very clear that he's in a relationship. Now, understandably, right? Understandably, Shekinah is furious. She refuses to go back on stage. So Sean calls a break. But Shekinah tells us this is just another example of how Sarper's past constantly interferes with their present.
It was the bottle collection, it was exes reaching out, it was his book. Now it's this person. I'm tired of it.
Now, Corona and Tata both tell Shekinah how well she handled that, which, coming from Tata, we know to be the case. Gosh, can you even imagine? Tata cries at anything. She would have absolutely lost her shit at that, wouldn't she? But the thing is, as for Sarper, well, he takes too long to come over. And when he eventually does, his attempts at comforting Shekinah don't exactly work.
Here I am in US, just for you, just to have a life with you.
I don't want to keep living moments like this over and over.
Look, I get it. I understand why Shekinah's upset. It can't be nice to constantly be confronted by his past. But the truth is, she has always known he has a past. She's seen the bottles and the books with her own eyes. She's known all along what she's getting into. If she can't handle the heat, she needs to get out of the kitchen. But it seems she can't. Despite everything, she is still firmly under Sarper's spell. She's so spellbound, in fact, that she even finds Sarper's jokes funny.
Stop
At
saying
least you
things
are
like
beautiful,
that.
huh? At least you have a good body.
Please don't leave me alone with a gun like that when I'm upset.
And don't make me laugh when I'm
I love you when you laugh.
And just like that, everything has been smoothed over. They're back to sunshine and rainbows again. But the question is, how long can that last? Heck, can they make it through the next part of the tell-all? And if they do, will they make it 90 days and down the aisle? Shekinah tells Sarper he has less than 90 days now to show her, prove to her, he has changed. If you can't, she says, that will be the end of our relationship. We've heard that all before, but will this time be different?
I have a limit. Old Sarper is laying under my skin right now, and I don't want to wake up the giants.